Michigan, Alabama, the Rose Bowl. Still a couple weeks away, but people are talking. And by people, I mean Big Ten coaches. To me, it's jarring the different ways that the Big Ten coaches talk about their own and the way the SEC coaches talk about their best teams. The Athletic has an article out, Anonymous Coaches and Their Thoughts Ahead of the Rose Bowl matchup. In discussing Michigan, the O-line looks pretty, but you watch the film, they're not moving you off the ball like you'd think. On Blake Corum, he doesn't have the juice. He's getting chased down. On JJ, they openly wonder why the play has dipped of late, and was it because of the lack of sign stealing in their critical games at the end of the season, saying he has to play the game of his life for Michigan to beat Alabama. Talking about Michigan's receivers. Wilson's a good player, but we didn't fear him. You watch the tape, a bunch of over routes. He plays hard, but that's about it. Cornelius Johnson's average. He's tall, but he's stiff. Shamaz Morgan, dynamic, but not polished. Loveland, good route runner, can't block. Who wins the game? Same old thing with Michigan. They're talented, but if someone can hold up front with them, they're too one-dimensional. Says if they get explosive plays, they have a shot, but Alabama can match up with them on the outside. Michigan's going to have to play such a clean game.
Michigan does have to play a clean game. These are the best four teams in college football. They're all going to have to play clean games to be able to win in these matchups. And all of those, you can call them narratives, you can call them facts, you can call them whatever you want, but they're all part of the conversation. If Michigan wants to remove those type of narratives or facts, go out there and win. Just go out there, and JJ is going to have to play his best game. Jalen Milroe is going to have to play his best game against this Michigan defense. You're looking at, Michael Penix. He's going to have to play his best game against Texas. This is a quarterback-driven game. All of these guys are going to have to play their best games to be able to move on to the national championship. And then guess what? They're going to have to play better in that game than they did in the semifinal game to be able to win a national championship.
It's just wild to me how this game is being discussed. Michigan is 13-0. They're the number one team in the country. They're favored in the matchup. But the majority of bets are on Bama. And you would think Michigan's the team that had lost a game the way they're being written about and the way they're being discussed. For all the talk of Michigan's O-line not being dominant, it sure was when they went on the road to Happy Valley and did not have to pass the ball in the entire second half. It sure was when against Ohio State, the Buckeyes gave them a pretty stiff uppercut running the ball on one big drive. Michigan bounced back even without their senior guard and ran into the end zone. Corum was not caught from behind. Alabama has a loss. Alabama, I know they're in the SEC and their coaches prop their teams up. This is a down year in the SEC. They lost their big marquee non-conference matchups across the board in conference. You talk about Georgia not being vintage Georgia. Bama isn't vintage Alabama either. I don't see Derrick Henry in the backfield. I don't see Amari Cooper on the outside or Julio Jones on the outside or Devontae Smith. They've got a dangerous quarterback. And they could win this game. They absolutely could. But it's being talked about like, well, Michigan's going to have to, they're playing a bunch of superhumans down there. I mean, they're like the Monstars from Space Jam. I mean, unless you find Michael's special stuff, you don't have a chance. Michigan's the better team. That doesn't mean they're guaranteed to win, but the way this is being discussed, I'm like, why is up down and down up?
Well, because Michigan has been in the college football playoffs and they haven't won a game.
Yeah.
Alabama has been in the college football playoffs and they've won lots of games.
But not this Saban team.
It doesn't matter.
And not this Harbaugh team either.
This is an opportunity for JJ, for this offensive. And it's they're not saying something that other people aren't seeing. This has not been the same protection from the offensive line for the quarterback, whether it's Cade McNamara or JJ last year, that they had in the last couple of seasons. It's not. But it can be. They've got to go out and prove it against a very good Alabama defense. Is it a great Alabama defense? No. but it's good.
I think
Kool-Aid McKinstry
yes,
is really good.
NFL corner.
Yeah.
Dallas Turner, that's the pass rusher, the latest and greatest from Alabama. They've got some dudes on defense. I'm not disputing it. I think both teams have some dudes on defense. Will Johnson's going to be an NFL corner.
Mikey Samerstill will be playing in the NFL.
He's always where you need him to be.
Yeah. Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, not this year because they're sophomores, but they're going to be NFL talents.
Chris Jenkins
will be out there this year. I mean, you've got some guys that are going to be dudes.
If you tell me it's low scoring and you tell me, hey, maybe Milroe makes one more play than JJ and that's the difference, all right. But the way this is being discussed implies like some sort of like ass whooping. And I mean, I know what happened when Michigan played Georgia 2 years ago. This is the most talented team Jim Harbaugh has had. More talented than 2 years ago, and they're not facing Georgia from 2 years ago.
But they have to deal with what the reality is. The reality is Connor Stallions was there. The reality is that they're, whether or not Jim Harbaugh knew, it does not matter. That was a part of this year. And if they want to show and prove that they can be good without that part of it hanging over their head, then go beat Alabama. JJ, be good. And it's not just the players. It's the coaches. It's Sharon Moore, Jim Harbaugh, Kirk Campbell, all of the coaches. Go out there and put together a game plan that utilizes the strengths. You maximize the strengths of your players. One of those for JJ is being able to run the ball. And I said it, and Doug can confirm it. During the last couple of broadcasts, the last couple of games, I wanted JJ to run the ball more because it provides another element. It puts a defense in conflict. And whether it was he was banged up, they didn't want to because they wanted to keep him healthy. I don't care what the reason was. That needs to be a part of it against Alabama.